Good evening, everyone. I am Bibylyn Espinosa, and this evening we are going to discuss the process and product-oriented performance-based assessments, suggestions for constructing performance tasks, checklists for writing performance tasks, and rating the performance. Again, so these are the topics that we are going to discuss this evening. But before we go down in the process and product-oriented, so let us define first what is performance-based assessment. Again, so when we say performance-based assessment, it measures of assessment based on authentic tasks, such as activities, exercises, or problems that require students to show what they can do. And also, some performance tasks are designed to have students demonstrate their understanding by applying their knowledge to a particular situation. Again, so when you say performance task, it measures the authentic task. It is based on authentic tasks. Okay, so let's proceed to the process-oriented performance-based assessment. Again, so in a process-oriented performance-based assessment, it is concerned with the actual task performance rather than the output or product of an activity. So in a process, it evaluates the actual task performance and it does not emphasize on the output. Also, this assessment aims to know what processes a person undergoes when given a task. Okay, so in the process-oriented performance, there are two learning competencies. Okay, so these are the learning competencies. So first, direct observable behavior of the students. So the teachers directly observe how the students behave, how the students perform of the given task. So next is competencies are defined as groups or cluster of skills and abilities needed for a particular task. So there are skills and ability needed when you perform a particular task. So one of the example of the process oriented based assessment is poem recitation. Okay, so there are things that you need to do when you perform. So first, you will recite the poem from memory without referring to notes. Second, you will use appropriate hand gestures in delivering the piece. You also maintain eye contact with the audience while reciting the poem. Also, you need to create the ambience of the poem through appropriate rising and falling intonation. And the last one is, you need to pronounce the word clearly and with proper diction. So, these are the things that you need to do when you performed in a particular task. Again, so process oriented performance-based assessment, it is concerned with the actual task performance. Alright, so let us proceed. Let us proceed to the product-oriented based assessment. So when we say product, it refers to the final output or product or final result that made. Okay, so this assessment is a kind of assessment wherein the assessor views and scores the final product made and not on the actual performance of making that product. And also, it is concerned on the product alone and not on the process. It is more concerned to the outcome or the performance of the learner. Also, it focuses on the achievement of the learner. Also, it focuses on evaluating the result or outcome of a process. So under in the product-oriented performance-based assessment, so there are 3 learning competencies. Okay. Again, so there are other ways to state product-oriented learning competencies. For instance, we can define learning competencies for products or outputs in the following ways. So, First is the novice or beginner's level. So it is in level 1. So second, the skilled level, it is for level 2, and expert level, it is for level 3. So in a level 1 or novice or beginner's level, it states that thus the finished product or project illustrates the minimum expected parts or functions. So in skilled level, thus the finished product or project contains additional parts and functions on top of the minimum requirements, which tend to enhance the final product. And lastly, in expert level or level 3, thus the finished product contains the basic minimum parts and functions, have the additional features on top of the minimum, and is aesthetically pleasing. Again, so these are the 3 learning competencies: the novice or beginner's level, the skilled level, and the expert level. So again, when we say a product-oriented performance-based assessment, it refers to the final product or final output made. Alright, so let us proceed now in scoring rubrics. So you're familiar with the rubrics, right? So when you say rubrics, it is a scoring scale used to assess student performance along a task-specific set of criteria. So it is important na as a teacher, you need to present rubrics to assess your students' performance. Okay, so next slide, it will discuss
So, good evening everyone. By the way, I am Anicito Junior and my assigned topics are suggestions for constructing performance tasks and checklist for writing performance tasks. So first, we will tackle first the suggestion for constructing performance tasks. And we have here 6 bases on how to create or construct performance tasks. First, we have focus on learning outcomes that require complex cognitive skills and student performances. So, tasks should be selected in light of learning outcomes, and it used to assess learning outcomes that they are not adequately measured by less consuming approaches. So, then the second one is select or develop tasks that represent both the content and the skills that central to important learning outcomes. So meaning, we should select or develop tasks that will emphasize the content or the skills that are important to learning outcomes. And the third, we have minimize the dependence of top performance on skills that are relevant to the intended purpose of the performance assessment task. So, it means we should minimize to become dependent of different tasks or performances. So we must need to become dependent in assessing or in making performance tasks. And the fourth is provide the necessary scaffolding for students to be able to understand the task and what is expected. And so we teachers, we should provide the necessary support or aid for our students to be able to understand that our given task. Then the fifth is construct task direction so that the student task is clearly indicated. So in constructing or making performance tasks, we should provide a clear directions or instructions so that our students will be able to understand what it is all about and how it is done. And the last is clearly communicate performance expectation in terms of the scoring rubrics by which the performance will be judged. So, and of course, after making or constructing performance tasks, we should provide scoring rubrics by which the performance of the students will be judged. And my next topic is checklist for writing performance tasks. So if you observe the format of assessment checklist, so first we have here the alignment of standards. So ito siyang makita diri that all items on the assessment align on the standards addressed to the in the SLO. So kamo na modify ni o if fit pa siya, ari may butang sa yes or kuan dili kayo ari sa somewhat or no wala gid siya makuan na fit. So same ra gyapon sa number 2, all items on the assessment align to the intent of the standards. So nakadepende rin siya sa performance sa gi-perform sa ato mga students. The next, item quality multiple choice questions. So kani siyang mga questionnaire nga gipanghimo. So we were going to identify whether fit ba gid siya, naka-follow ba siya sa format, and so on. So all items contain STEAM that a front form of direct question. Then all items state that the whole question in this item is STEAM. The stimulus is essential to the question with which it associated. And all items avoid using negative statements such as not or never. And all items avoid repeating words or phrases. So ano mga redundancy. So 7 is all item structures are based on common student errors or misconceptions. Kaning mga sipyat. And 8, all item answered are roughly the same length. And all items answered avoid choices of all of the above and none of the above. So naman tayo format ani gini making questions or multiple choices. Then last is item quality or short answer and extended response. So first we have items are clear, concise, and unambiguous. So dapat ano ra kanang dali ra masabtan, dili kay kanang putik-tuyo kada ang word pero malibog na ng mga estudyante. The next item contains theme is in the form of direct question. Ano siya? Then item state with the whole question in the item's theme. Then the stimulus is essential to the question in the item's theme. And the last one is item avoid providing clues and questions with who is associated. So that's all. Thank you.
A performance task is any learning activity or assessment that asks students to perform to demonstrate their knowledge, understanding, and proficiency. Performance tasks yield a tangible product and/or performance that serve as evidence of learning. Unlike a selected response item, multiple choice, or matchmaking that asks students to select from given alternatives. A performance task presents a situation that calls for learners to apply their learning in context. Here is an example of assessment checklist. Checklist is defined as an assessment tool that set out specific criteria which educators and students may use to gauge skill development or progress. Checklists may be used with students from kindergarten to grade 12, and for every subject, checklists set out skills, attitudes, strategies, and behaviors for evaluation and offer ways to systematically organize information about a student or group of students. As you can see in this checklist consists of a set of statements that correspond to specific criteria. The answer to each statement, as you can see, is either yes or no, or done or not done. A student, a group of students, or an entire class may use checklists. They may be single-use or designed for multiple usage. This is example, as you can see. The purpose of checklists is to provide tools for systematically recording observations, to provide students with tools that they can use for self-evaluation, to provide examples of criteria for students at the beginning of a project or learning activity, to document the development of skills, strategies, attitudes, and behaviors that are necessary for effective learning, and to identify students' learning needs by summarizing learning to date. Checklists can also play a role in a student's ability to self-assess along with a variety of other tools. So next, let's talk about performance rating. Is performance rating. So performance rating is the step in the work measurement in which the analyst or observer observes the worker or student's performance and records a value representing that performance relative to the analyst's concept of standard performance. Performance rating helps students to do their jobs better. So as you can see in the performance rating chart, there are several standard performance rating that the teacher is presented to the students so that they can able to attain what the teacher wants them to do or to accomplish or align to the instruction that the teacher or your instructor wish you to accomplish. You can see there is an excellent work, good work, satisfactory, or needs improvement. In this way, the teacher will know what are the students' weakness, their strengths, or and what are the things that they need to improve for them to become better in the future or on their ongoing career. It provides quantitative assessments, are relatively easy to administer and assist in differentiating between students. So that's all my report. Thank you for listening.